Hi, romance readers. I am Liz Donatelli. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance, the #1 romance novel talk show on YouTube. Authors and married writing duo Kate and Danny Tamberelli join me to discuss their romantic comedy, The First Date Prophecy, inspired by their own real-life love story. And Kate and Danny create rom-comedy gold in fun segment, This Title Needs a Story. Enjoy and be sure to like and subscribe. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance, Kate and Danny.
Hi, how you doing?
Congratulations on the release of The First Date Prophecy, which has received a ton of glowing blurbs and a starred review from Library Journal.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just learned what a starred review is when that happened. So I wasn't it's like it's starred. Like, all right, no, you don't understand. It's a starred review, Danny.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. And for Library Journal, that means that The First Date Prophecy is right in front of a ton of librarians and they make the purchasing choices for the library. So that's good. That's good news.
We had a friend that texted us from Greenville, South Carolina, showing us a picture of our book in the library down there.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'd like to share an excerpt from the review. This 90s nostalgia-tinged love story will leave rom-com fans smiling and swooning. So how does that feel to receive praise for your debut romance?
Swooning.
Felt pretty great. I will say, I've written a few YA novels and I never got a star. So getting my first one, for our co-authored project was especially beautiful. And that
must have been the halves that Kate broke that got the starred part.
No, must have been yours because I never got one before.
Well, we'll get into all of that about your co-writing, how you divvy up the writing responsibilities. We'll get into more of that. Tell me about the romance journey between Lucy and Rudy in The First Date Prophecy.
Well, I mean, the romance journey mirrors some of ours in that Danny and I are a product of Tinder. I was swiping pretty heavily, doing a lot of no's, and he popped up. And it was like I was so busy doing my left swipe, and I accidentally did left on Danny. And right after I did that, I realized, like, oh my God, I think that was that kid from TV, that I used to watch. And I knew he lived in Brooklyn, was doing comedy. And for like weird reasons I can't explain, I was obsessed with like finding him on it and deleted Tinder to find, like, it's a long. So we met on Tinder, and he sent me a message that's similar to the one in the book. And that's really like where, our diving off point was when we thought about writing together. We, word for word, the message in the book, the Tinder the heartthrobs message in the book, is what our first exchange was. So Rudy and Lucy are similar, very similar to us, in that they're both, living in Brooklyn, early 30s, trying to figure out their life. Because in Brooklyn, in New York, you don't figure your life out often until you're in your 30s or 40s. You might be able to appreciate coming from cities. So they're both on for their different reasons, but looking for meaning and, kind of purpose outside of what their lives currently are. And, Lucy similarly recognizes Rudy from the TV shows he was on as a kid that like brought her so much joy as a kid. And she similarly is obsessed with like finding a match situation and maybe going on a date, kind of a novelty date in her mind, because she's gone on a lot of bummer ones.
Her friends wanted the date that we went on to be just exactly that. Just for fun.
It was a fun dating.
Meet him.
When you go on a lot of bad dates, especially living in the city.
Is he a real jerk?
Yeah, you never know. But the arc for us and what we were so excited about capturing in it was like that kind of slow burn of meeting someone. And it's not to say ours wasn't love at first sight. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, so often in books it is like that immediate feeling that someone, like, there's that magnetic, like, it's gotta be you, it's always been you. And we wanted this to feel really real, getting to know each other, meeting each other's friends, having like an intro into one another's worlds. And in the case of this one, you know, because their first date leaves them with an epic prophecy, you know, that you know, I don't want, without giving too much away, you know, again, these people are both looking for happiness, like direction in their lives, job, right. You know, what they want, you know, they're looking for all of those pieces. And when on their first date, they're kind of thrown into this epic prophecy situation. It gives them more cause to like wait it out and get to know one another. And that for us was like, because in New York, in any city, there's so many people you could be dating that it's really easy to go on one date and then be like, yeah, it was fine. You know, but
yeah,
maybe I'll meet someone even cooler tomorrow who has an even cooler job or story, you know, is even funnier, better looking, whatever it is. It's really easy to dismiss people like right away. And for us, the whole point of the prophecy and the story was waiting it out and seeing and giving something a chance and really getting to know someone before you just assume, you know, if it wasn't 100% love at first sight, it's not meant to be.
Right. So you mentioned something that struck me and immediately endeared me to the story, is that it felt real and it was genuinely funny. So and I feel like, you know, I guess everyone kind of feels to some extent, oh, my life is like a rom-com. But it felt like a lot of the things that happened or just situations and the interesting, quirky ways in which Lucy and Rudy relate to each other resonated with me to a certain degree.
I think also from myself, coming from a place of not being traditionally a rom-com reader, and just kind of doing it the way that I thought I should do it, and then asking for clarification and making sure that it, you know, I know there's basic structure to it.
There are rules to romance.
Yeah, there are rules to romance.
You
know, I attempted to break them a few times. Kate said, "No, you can't do that." So
we were never going to break them up. We weren't going to take it to that point.
No.
Okay.
No, but again, it was just interesting to sort of get these parameters, and I just kind of like, okay, well, I'm full of the right what you know kind of situation for me. I mean, I feel like that never does you wrong.
Yes.
Well, the comedy piece for that. Like I feel like going, we knew like we genuinely wanted it to be a rom-com, you know. I feel like sometimes things are called rom-coms and it's like, you know, it's romantic and they're funny lines, but you know, it's the comedy. Like I think that part doesn't always come across. We're going in Danny's background too, like his writing background, things he just get like the comedy part. I don't think he could have done it. You know, he wouldn't have been in it. It wouldn't have been like true to him and his voice to not lean in heavily on the com.
In your real life, was hypothetical asking and answering questions, was that part of your love language like it is for Lucy and Rudy?
Define love language.
I was going to say it continues every day.
There's a creep effect in there that provides Kate with some sort of sick satisfaction that, you know, she likes to watch me squirm when I have to answer, you know, yucky hypotheticals about things I can and can't eat for the
I've started asking our 4-year-old hypotheticals too. I just asked him one the other day. So it started there. And that's why for me, as someone who truly like, I'm just like, my mind is endlessly fascinated by hypotheticals. Like I feel like you can so much about people and I mean, just there's something fun about making someone squirm with like weird questions. But then for Danny, you know, so when we did match, you know, like it was the same, like I found him again on Tinder. We didn't instantly match. I was like, oh my God, I feel like he's not been on for a long time. And then luckily later that day, it was a match. He swiped on me. And then I was like, oh, what funny message can I send him? What can I say that I don't sound like some kind of creepy fan or whatever? But then he came through and he sent me, you know, this hypothetical, the one the book hinges on. So it was just like, wow, how perfect this guy, you know, he is speaking my love language.
He gets me.
It's true. I had no idea that I was walking into a situation of premeditated hypotheticals.
Yeah, my profile didn't say like I love hypotheticals. That was totally just him, because as he likes to say, he was on Tinder for comedic fodder.
That's correct.
So he saw, his hypothetical as like a funny way of reaching out, because I think he would have not wanted to be serious, like, oh, hello there, how was your evening going?
It truly was a litmus test. Some people would ignore it and not respond to me based on that. And so I figured it was a good way of, like, whittling through the people.
Yes. Yes.
Just say, how you doing? I mean, you could, but you probably wouldn't get a good response. If I had just sent you a message that said, hey, how you doing?
I mean, I probably would have still responded. Okay. It deleted Tinder to find you.
Correct. I would
have to really say something like crude or disgusting for me to not respond.
So, as far as the co-writing process for the First Date Prophecy, how did that work? I assume that you, Kate, wrote the Lucy chapters, and Danny, you wrote the Rudy chapters. Or did you both work on
scissors for the even and the odd numbers?
Did you guys, like, I don't know, write this, have like a storyboard type of thing, or a shared drive where you're like, oh, I think this should happen, or what? Like, how did that work?
You were speaking all of the things that I like to do when I create and write stuff.
Okay.
Is have everything fleshed out, the idea, beats, where things are going, character arcs, where somebody starts, how they're going to finish, how they get there, who's helping, who's hurting,
right?
All of it. Kate over here, she wrote all of the books that she wrote by herself without a real final for stories.
Especially the first, like, I truly had no clue where I would really just, it's very vibes based.
Okay. So you're a pantser. You're a pantser, and Danny is a plotter.
Are those the terms? Technical terms?
Yes. It's
I am a plotter.
Yes, there's pantser, plotter, and then there's the hybrid, the plantser, and then there's other hybrid names too.
That's the hybrid. We form like Voltron to do that.
You can't really co-author as a pantser, or I mean, I guess you could, but it would be a very unwilling process. So this going in was, we wrote like the first third with like a kind of loose plot, and then after that we really broke it down chapter by chapter, because we were writing this like mostly nap times. For this one, we only had one kid when we wrote this one, so we would write it during nap times. He stopped napping by the time we had to write the second one. That's not that's a whole other, but so we had very precious time that we could write, mostly on the weekends during nap times. So like we had to go in with a plan, and we had to be able to write at the same time. So it wasn't like, I'll write my chapter and then we'll figure out what happens in yours. We had to, one person, he had to be skipping ahead, like in that way. Because if I was writing 1, he was writing 2, and then 3, and then 4.
Gotcha.
Asking questions while we're both writing different chapters to see if things were syncing up properly, or if things needed to be changed, or you write something totally different than what you talked about just because it felt right, and then you have to sort of get that idea fleshed out, but then pause it and talk and try to, do like this is not what we talked about, but I think this might be a good way to go. And sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes those questions are hard to answer when one or the other has an idea that it's hard to articulate out. And I think that was probably the most not problematic, but just like if we had speed bumps while writing, it's usually that, and it comes from an interesting place where you feel you have that idea that it makes so much sense in your brain, and then trying to get that information into words and for someone else to understand can sometimes be difficult.
Right. Yeah.
We just power through our own ways, which is me to step away while Kate said, just write through it. You're going to write through it.
We're still together. We're still here. So.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to ask was about creative differences and just like how it was affecting your personal life, if at all. Because if I sat down and wrote, my husband and I sometimes try to like write romance novels and stuff aloud to each other, which is a whole other story. And I would find myself getting annoyed at him. First of all, he would have some better ideas than me, and it would annoy me. And then sometimes he wouldn't want to listen to me. We don't write romance, but just in these hypothetical situations, we're coming up with these ideas. So, I mean, how many times did you guys like, I don't even want to look at you right now. You're not getting along, or am I just projecting?
I mean, but I'm sure we had our moments.
I think it was more just getting you to write. Like, as Danny likes to,
yeah.
I made him write like on New Year's Eve. Like, I was very much like, if we were at grandparents' house, like if we had childcare, this was like 2020, 2021, when like we were really, at home a lot with our son, with very little childcare. So it was, I was pushing him
to write
because it was,
and it wasn't like I didn't want to write. I have feelings of writing when I feel like I need to write. But guess what? I've never been I'm just a published author now. Like I understand that it's a job. You have, deadlines. You have things that you need to do. So
with the first, I mean, that's hard. Like, it was hard writing this one. It's hard anytime you're writing a book that's not contracted, that you haven't sold, because you don't know. And that was like my biggest fear the whole time. Like, oh my God, if I'm making him write through all the we're missing all this time that we like really, also could have benefited from just relaxing and not pushing ourselves, if it hadn't sold. Boy, what I have felt awful. Like, I'm on, because I work.
You promised me.
I work as a literary agent during the week, so I'm like immersed in the book world all the time, and I've been really fortunate so far to not have written a book that I didn't end up selling. Time is just so precious. Like I said, I'm working with other books all week. Like, I can't really turn my brain on for hour writing until like night, which I'm awful at, or mostly like weekends. So it put a lot I think that was the biggest pressure of all, more than any plot, conflict talking through, was just, oh my God, are we pouring so much of ourselves and our very precious, limited parent time into something that will never come to be? That
it's a leap of faith.
Me the whole, year or so we were writing it. But luckily.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad it worked out. How did you balance the rom to com ratio? Because I feel as if there's got to be some kind of recipe that, even if writers don't consciously acknowledge, there's got to be unconsciously, there's got to be like, okay, well, they, kissed here, so we need to have like, two funny scenes. Like, is it like two kisses to a funny scene? Like, how did you balance the rom to the com? Because that's a reader's biggest, one of their biggest gripes is, it was a romantic comedy and there wasn't enough romance, or it was a romantic comedy and there wasn't enough comedy. So how did you guys, I guess, rein each other in, or, work on that balance?
Well, we had a mantra from the beginning that we kept saying it was a more com than rom situation. So I feel like maybe that just sort of became what was in the back of my head. So I was thinking about the comedy first.
To be fair, I would go in and elaborate on your kisses and tender moments.
Okay.
He definitely did not want the sex scene in his chapter.
Yeah.
I might have had to help infuse some more romantic feelings in the.
And that's fine.
Smooching moment.
I'm not saying I did it.
I think comedy was always there, and there was more in editing of going back in and like, never wanting it to feel too slapsticky or too silly, but also to not take itself too seriously. I feel like that's the and really weighing in not just the romance, but like the true emotional beats you feel in a relationship, like all of the little first moments of like holding hands or, feeling like I really do like hanging out with this person. This does feel really comfortable. I'm not like anxious about it anymore. Like, oh, I do care about them. I feel sad that they're sad. Like all of those little moments that you feel, even outside of the like, I'm so hot for this person.
Yes.
There's a good scene where Lucy and Rudy are back from a date and they're eating tacos on the stoop. And there's that moment where he is being stupid about eating a taco and he gets the grease down his arm, and he gets this little like domesticated moment where Lucy like that didn't happen. I didn't really do that. I don't eat tacos like that.
Okay.
But I related to that very much, and I think the romantic parts in the book that I feel like I excelled at were those little like tiny moments of just showing the progression of interest and like how it affects each character and that sort of situation. I wasn't overtly like, and then we made love under the moonlight. I know, and I'm not making fun of anyone who writes that. I'm just saying I couldn't do it. It didn't feel natural to me, and I'm glad that I co-wrote it with Kate so she could take my love language and make it as she does, makes it just better.
Yeah.
I understand your love language too. I think it'd be harder. Like, I don't think I could co-author with someone that wasn't in. I mean, you've done comedy writing with other people.
Yeah, but I've done most of my writing has been collaborative. So in that respect, when we were working together, I didn't feel any sort of pressure or going back to your previous question about that. Like, I'm very comfortable in this situation. I like to bounce ideas off. I love getting to that that moment of like, oh, this is great. Like let's figure this out together. Let's keep going. Like there's more.
Did you learn anything surprising about each other while writing The First Date Prophecy?
So many of the little anecdotes are true, like about people you've dated and like weird things that happen and things like I didn't know were true, like that I still continue to learn, like, oh, that wasn't just like a funny bit you put in your, like a little one. Like he talks about how Rudy walked out on a date because the woman really didn't like ketchup and was like really anti-ketchup. And I didn't know that was true of him and a date he went on until pretty recently we were talking about. So I like continued to learn things about his relationship history through, just like these little character details that, we're small things, but like also very true to relationships and how we relate to people and what we were looking for or not looking for in that case.
I learned that it would have been a really good nun in a Catholic school, the way that she cracked my knuckles and made sure that I was doing all the right things and my New Jersey public education wasn't coming out.
You have to remember I am also an agent. So like I spent, I'm editing other people all the time. And it was actually really rewarding to be able to like edit him as bluntly as I could, like
I didn't get those nice puffy emails with all like the good stuff littered with the bad in the middle,
compliment
and then
sandwich.
The compliments at the bottom. The compliments sandwich.
It was really freeing to just be like
mine were all open face. It was an open face sandwich.
Craigslist is mentioned a lot. For me, like just reading the word Craigslist, I was laughing just looking at the name Craigslist. So now Lucy supplements her income by working Craigslist gigs. How did you decide to throw Craigslist into the story? Now it is set in 2015. Did that have something to do with, was Craigslist at the height of its power? I don't even know.
It was there. I had written something. I'd written a sketch about people that lived together and they're all different jobs, and the wild card's job was that he was just perpetual Craigslister. Like he would do anything. He would look at the back, see what he could get, and then come back with all these like ridiculous stories of the things he had to do, or like I think that what I had written was that it was like a guy who wanted to be watched, so he was like a peeping Tom, but he was like, it wasn't sexual, it was more like dark and mysterious, and like it was more for the person who was doing the Craigslisting to be like, what is going on here? Anyway, never went anywhere. Clearly, it didn't do anything. But I always thought, I mean, it's such you can go anywhere because there you can do anything on you can get paid to do anything on Craigslist or buy stuff. I mean, there's that misconnection line in there, which I used to read constantly because I
feel like I looked at Craigslist all the time in that era of my
my early dating. Like you would whatever. Do that. You would. I think I have somewhere on like an old phone, or maybe probably it's in the cloud, of like you reading me these misconnections.
Sounds right.
He's like a really nice like theatrical reading of these missed connections.
No, I did love those. I mean, it's not, we based it more in 2015 because age-wise, thinking about for someone who was on TV in their 90s as a kid, to do the math, but also like it's a subtle thing. But like I grew up loving I Love Lucy, and it opens with a quote from Lucille Ball, and Lucy, there are subtle things that like honor I Love Lucy, and thinking about that character and what she would have been like in the modern day had she not been married, like the kinds of ways she would have done, the odd job she took on even in the show, channeling that spirit, like that kind of randomness of all of these different opportunities and just weird situations you find yourself in, which in somewhere like New York, I think is pretty unlimited, the weird things you could do to make money.
Yeah. Lucy would have definitely gone out on Craigslist and found opportunities for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It used to be kind of like more, I didn't even know it still existed, to be honest. I looked up Craigslist to check, and it still looks exactly the same. And the jobs have gotten sketchier because back in the day, it was a legit place where I would find, real job listings amongst some of the sketchier ones. It also was a good place to find what events were going on in your neighborhood. I don't know what they list for.
I mean, I found roommates who became like best friends through it. Such a hub.
Yeah,
I got a job on Craigslist once. During a slow time in my life where I was like a middleman between like music teachers and private students. It was like a private school.
Oh, okay.
It was totally kind of a sham, and I got paid, and then I would have to argue to get as someone who's a musician also and who taught lessons before. I thought this was like a great job.
Yeah.
And then now that they were like nickel and diming on the other end, these musicians, I ended up getting out of there. But I found it on Craigslist.
So asking and answering hypothetical questions becomes Lucy and Rudy's love language, as we mentioned earlier. I have a hypothetical for you. If The First Date Prophecy was adapted into a Netflix original TV series, who would you cast as Lucy and Rudy?
I mean, he's like, do I say myself? Or...
I was wondering if you would mention yourself.
Maybe. No, I'd be in there somewhere though. I'd find the author cameo somewhere. Miles Teller and Zooey Deschanel if they were 10 years younger.
Miles Teller.
Okay. 10 years younger doesn't feel right. Nice. That's not very nice.
Zooey Deschanel, I can't see.
It was more like her character in The New Girl was maybe a little,
Okay, but not okay. I see where you're going.
Girl doesn't necessarily have to be Zooey Deschanel.
Okay.
New York comedian Joe Firestone. For Lucy. She would have been a good Lucy.
Maybe that's
maybe she would be a good Lucy.
Yeah, Joe, if you're listening.
So Kate, this is your first adult romance book, and you've published 4 YA novels under Katelyn Detweiler. that explores some pretty weighty topics. What's most satisfying to you about the switch from writing YA fiction to adult romantic comedy?
I know the answer to this.
What, that I could curse more? Is that what you're going to say?
I don't know.
That I could drop more F-bombs?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also partly just like the co-authored. Like, I was at a point with YA where I was just feeling like I'm getting old, and like it's harder. Like, I feel like what teens are experiencing now for multitude, like when we were teenagers, like social media was not around yet, like I had my first Facebook account my freshman year of college. So I just feel like the more time that passes, the more I feel like, well, some things about the teen experience will never change. Some things like really do. And they've, there's so many things that in the last just few years of the pandemic, and the way social media does have so much power, and just the way they learn, there's so much more screen. Like, it's just so, there are so many big differences that I think it was feeling harder for me to capture what is like the true teen experience, I mean, and I love reading YA and working on YA, but it was feeling, I don't know, I was just feeling at a point like it was my time to move on into this new space and to capture more of like what I'm closer to and what I'm thinking and feeling and learning and growing. There's so much. I think we're all like, what I loved about YA and still love about YA is like that coming of age and discovering yourself. But I think the older I get, I'm also realizing you're always coming of age, like there's not like a finite, like I have achieved myself and now I will be, for the rest of my life. It's like we're always evolving. And I think especially, the way I felt being single in New York for most of my 20s, and figuring out the career path and like what I wanted my life to look like. I think I was like expecting more of that neat resolution. Like, I am in my 20s now. I'm a grown adult person. Life will be easier. And like my 20s were incredibly hard. I'd lived in Pennsylvania my whole life, and I'd moved to New York to be in publishing, and I didn't really know anyone. And was really a fish out of water for the first like 5 years. I was there, and I wanted to leave all the time, but it was just like I loved publishing, and I knew like I had to stick it out. And finally, a few years in, like met my people, loved my job, eventually met him. But like you're always learning, and it's funny, writing 30-year-olds still figuring their lives out and who they are. I think for some people, we had like one review I read where it was people didn't feel like it was true to life for 30 something. Like, I don't know, move to a big city, because there are plenty of 30-year-olds who like don't have their act together with their job and with their love life or with their friendships, like all of it. Writing something that felt closer to what I've gone through, and with the freedom of being able to curse, but being able to dive into things a little on a bit of on a deeper level, because YA can go really deep. But I just think there's just still more room to push things, and just really capture what it means to be a 30-something still trying to figure it out.
So, Danny, how does novel writing compare to the other creative mediums that you've worked in? You're a podcaster, musician, comedian, an actor, popularly known for starring in Nickelodeon's 90s TV show, The Adventures of Pete and Pete. As far as satisfying your creativity, how does novel writing fit in?
Acting as a kid was just acting as a kid, and it was fun to do. And I never really thought of it as a job or as something that like was a career path more than anything. It was more just, I got to do these fun things, and then I had a choice to go to college and be a normal kid, and I went to public school my whole life, or like stay in LA and just continue working. And I chose to go back home and finish my senior year and get into college and like do the normal kid thing. And I've been playing music since I was 11. I've had a bass since I was 11. Iggy Pop was on the show. He was on The Adventures of Pete and Pete. He taught me just a little bit.
That's awesome.
No big deal. Just name dropping Iggy Pop.
Feel free to name drop as much as you
can. I was trying to bridge the connection here.
No, I gotcha.
It was kind of a weird show like that. Michael Stipe from REM, Kate Pearson from the B-52s. Like their guests were really cool and interesting and unique, like the show.
Yeah.
So as an adult, getting all that sort of, just people who like that show really love that show. So there's always something really special there. But in terms of like actually writing stuff, I mean, our novels in Barnes and Noble and other books around bookstores around the country, which is more than I can say for Man Boob sketch comedy that got 2,500 views on YouTube a month. I can be honest here. We're opening up. I'm like a flower. I've just pulled off a couple. Just saying that this has definitely been in terms of like something that I've written is the most anything's ever gone.
And the process was really rewarding
because you got to do very rewarding
your
because
wife
I got to work with my
our love.
Fantastic.
Know that we can do it, so it's like
and you got to do the audiobook, which
and I did get to do the audiobook, which was really fun.
Oh,
I'd never done the last time I did an audiobook, I was 12 or 13 years old. It was a Goosebumps book on tape.
Oh, get out.
Who did you do it with?
Rita Moreno was in it. Yep. Yeah. She's from the Bronx, I think, right? I think she's.
Is she from the she might be from the Bronx. I think all like really super talented people are from the Bronx. If you look at the list, it's not just me. It's just
and a Long Island accent had not left her yet. Scarlett Johansson was the other little child actor.
Oh, get out.
So I had big shoes to fill going in and doing my own audiobook. And that's where I came from.
Yeah.
ScarJo and Rita Moreno and I'm in a room by myself reading our half truth, half fiction book
So you did the narration for the whole book, or did they have
Rudy, just for Rudy?
And
we got Mara Wilson to do the Lucy part.
Oh, get out! Oh, wow.
No one wanted to hear my voice. Mara's way more talented than me.
Really? You have a lovely voice, Kate. I can't imagine that you wouldn't be able to do the audiobook.
She would have been able to do it, but
I couldn't do audiobooks unless it was something very New York. But like, you have a lovely reading. Like,
I think you have a lovely voice too.
Yeah.
What was that?
I think you have a lovely voice too.
It depends who you ask. Thank you. Thank you very much. According to my research, your second book releases in 2024, and it's called The Road Trip Rewind. Can you? Nice. Can you share a little bit about what the story involves? Who's in it? It's another rom-com, I assume.
It's a companion novel, so it's the big brother Rocco from the First State Prophecy gets his story. With
someone we've already met in the First State
Prophecy? She's new. It's set in LA, and it's got a Back to the Future twist. So half of it is actually set in 1999. So we leaned it, we dipped our toes in with a little weird prophecy. A little nostalgia and a little with the prophecy, is this real? Is she, and then we just dove right in and wrote half of it in 99 for the second one.
Oh, I love it. I love that. That's can't wait to read.
It's a lot of fun. I think we had more fun writing the second one. I mean, partly because we knew it was actually going to be a book. So even though it was a deadline that we actually had to worry about, and we were writing that one with, we were detached. We had our second baby last summer. So we were writing this through a little bit of maternity leave in the fall with a newborn, and continue. We're revising right now. So we had the deadline, but we also knew it was going to be, so that made it easier. But I think also because these characters are new and are not us, and it is even, I don't want to say it's zanier, because I think it is still really grounded, but this, Back to the Future element that was just super fun to write, to really be in the 90s and think about LA and capture that spirit.
This title needs a story, rom-com edition. I have crafted 4 rom-com titles, and you tell me what it's about. And I'm interested in seeing your collaborative creative process in an improvisational setting. So here we go.
I feel like improv.
So here we go. Okay. First one, inspired by the first date prophecy, hypothetically dating. What is hypothetically dating about?
It's an online meet cute that is really just a catfish. And so the one person who's getting catfished doesn't really know, clearly, because they're being catfished. So hypothetically they're dating.
Okay.
But
in reality, she's dating a celebrity in her head?
but it's not really, and it's not real because that person's being catfished. So.
But I feel like, well, they had to have met though with a hypothetical. I feel like you got to be more hypothetical. Like the first message had to be a hypothetical, like ours. And you know what? I think what it is, that person didn't mean to catfish. He was, some like sweet nerdy guy, and he posed a hypothetical that left her thinking, he was this guy that she had a crush on, and then he didn't know how to dial back from that once they started talking because he really liked her. So, I don't know how he suspends disbelief for too long on that, but I feel like that's how it starts. Maybe it's a little long distance, so he
only has 5 pictures of this avatar. So once he gets through 5 separate, send me a picture, and then he has to send the first one again. She gets suspicious.
Well, I'm thinking of that great Christmas rom-com that came out like a year or 2 ago about someone being catfished. Remember? And then she goes to the town.
Yes, that was a good one.
Right.
The love interest, the guy means to catfish.
Right.
But he put some hypothetical, like, would you be interested if I were and she like doesn't pick up on the humor and bites, and he doesn't realize at first, but
okay, so that's hypothetically dating. Okay, next one. When the moon hits your eye, as in, that's Amore, the song.
This is speaking your Italian.
When the moon hits your eye. What is that rom-com about?
This is a rom-com YA because I'm thinking about when I've wanted to riff on with Danny when he was a kid on TV. He would work at a bagel store on the weekends to be normal. So I'm picturing it's a YA, same thing, like a kid actor, but he's working as Italian. Yeah. And with this very normal girl.
Okay. So you would make this a YA romance.
Yeah, this is a YA romance to just kind of lean into that Italian, his background growing up. But I think they're working at this pizza shop, and she's like really underwhelmed by this like heartthrob teen actor like working there on the weekends that everyone else kind of like falls over, to like show off for him, and
which only makes that guy want her more because she's the only one that sees through his BS.
And I guess this is all leading up to some epic lunar eclipse.
I didn't expect that.
The struggle actually, the main struggle, doing great, and then this eclipse comes up, and the celebrity guy is like, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to use my eyes to look at it. And it becomes a real big thing.
Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about this part. It's going a little off the rails.
So a little bit of sci-fi? Do you like to
the dad was a welder, and he knew if he put the welding mask on with the
okay.
See, this is where I would get to be like really blunt in my editing as we're plotting out,
Yes, I can see why.
Side eye. I just
All right, number 3. And I don't know if I'm saying this right, but a unicycle built for 2. I don't know if it's a unicycle or a unicycle. Anyway.
A unicycle built for 2 is the untold love story of a circus clown and one of the Italian high jumpers, and it's their story of how they get together, because it's a show of acrobatics,
Okay.
With the female protagonist, but as being a clown, the love interest, he's always on a unicycle being silly, and she doesn't want to get on the unicycle, and that's actually how they fall in love in that moment, that he keeps asking her to get on the unicycle and she doesn't really trust him. So he decides that he'll do it up on the rope, and he has no acrobatic experience at all.
Okay.
He's a clown, so he's funny and he can juggle and stuff, but he's terribly afraid of heights.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He shows her that he would do that for her. And so she says, okay, I trust you. I'm going to sit on the unicycle with you. And then it becomes a unicycle for two.
It's really beautiful. I can't touch
you
that
can't
one.
Elaborate on really... that? You don't want to elaborate?
Well, I was going to say, that they, whatever the like caravan they travel in, kind of RV style, hers must break down at some point, and there's only one caravan, and there's only one bed in the RV that they have to share together one stormy night, and that's where they really talk. And
his name is Squiggles the clown.
Oh God, that's the least sexy.
Yeah, but then she starts calling him Gil.
Yeah,
and so it feels like that's how he gets domesticated. All my life they've called me Squiggles, and she calls me Gil.
Kate, I like your use of tropes though, and doing the only one.
Yeah, I know. See, this is
this is where I gotta educate.
These are the
yes.
The ideas that it needs the finesse and put the plot in the right way.
Okay. This one my brother came up with because I was on the phone. I was like, hey, I'm really just drawing a blank. He came up with 30 minutes or less.
30 minutes or less.
Mm-hmm.
You know the old game that the kids used to play, 7 Minutes in Heaven? As you get older, the time goes up. And it's not necessarily in a closet.
No, I feel like
I just have to jump in. If I don't jump in and just say something, I'll lose the goal that comes out of my mouth.
I feel like it's got to be riffing off of some hypothetical situation that they're like put into. Like they're given some ridiculous. I'm trying to think of something like really high stakes that it all.
Well, 30 minutes or less, you'd be thinking about Domino's Pizza. It'd be a pizza.
That was the inspiration.
The pizza delivery driver.
Oh, interesting. What is like? What can you do in those 30 minutes? What like really defining moment for a relationship?
It's this guy's last delivery. He's blown a couple, the 30 minutes or less. This is his last chance.
The 30-something-year-old trying to figure out what he's,
okay.
31 minutes, and the lady who opens the door is like, I'm ready for my free pizza because it's been 31 minutes. And he has to talk her into.
She's had a really bad day, so she's being like a little bit bitchier than she usually, would have been. Because she's upset. This is like her comfort pizza after like a really like she lost her job maybe that day.
Oh,
and the pizza guy's there. But then something, what happens
is he opens the pizza and he had bumbled it and the cheese is stuck to the top. So he opens it up and it's just like a destroyed pizza.
She starts sobbing and then like, really pours out her soul about what happened.
He decides to quit the delivery game.
Okay.
Right at that moment because he has other pizza in the car for somebody else. And he decides that he's going to sacrifice his job to give this woman fresh pizza that he didn't screw up.
Okay. And the from there. Is the whole night, it's just all like what's like the before sunset, what's the what I mean, where it's like all told like in one evening of them like,
okay, so this is all right, gotcha. So
she just lost her job. He decides to lose his job to make her happy. They have a pizza dinner date. Maybe there's some Cards Against Humanity that gets played.
Okay.
And that turns into.
I'm not sure about the cards.
They play Balderdash, okay?
This one I came up with, inspired by 90s commercial slogans. I've fallen and I can't get up. God. Title of the rom-com. I've fallen and I can't get up.
When Harold decided to go into assisted living.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
He didn't realize it was going to be that way. He didn't know about the different loofah colors and all these things. He had his own special particular one, and it got misinterpreted as some sort of kink.
Oh, yeah. So this is a mature romance.
I know what I've fallen. I can't get up. I know, but it's like a geriatric romance.
Well, which to be fair, I think there could be more geriatric romances out there. I think they're
mature romance. Yes,
that might be a little bit of a depressing title,
right?
No, but it's double entendre.
So I'm thinking we need to go more metaphorical with that, like someone who's fallen. Like, well, I was gonna say like some kind of like rock climber or something, but that might also be a little.
That'd be interesting. Meet cute then, falling into someone. Well, I mean, I guess that's been done before, but like falling from a height, from a rock. You said rock climbing. Nobody's ever done it from a dangerous height. And
why can't they get up if someone catches them?
Right. What happens is he catches her, he falls down, breaks his leg, he can't get up.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
The whole book is like we're dragging him through the woods and like hoping that
true. That could be fun.
There's a potential bear attack there.
Okay. I like where this is going. Like a weekend at Bernie's.
Stranded out in the wilderness. Well, no one's dead though, right?
Right. A weekend at Bernie's without death.
It's 117 hours or 120, whatever it is. Meets something else.
I think this is an enemies to lovers one where it happened to be, they were competitive rock climber. I don't know. They work together and they're both. Maybe it was a work retreat. They're coworkers. They ate each other's guts. And they had some kind of like trust fall rock climb and they got paired off. And now they're like stranded in the woods trying to find, their way back to the main camp.
Yeah.
But their broken leg, it's really slow going. So they have to camp out together. No one's found them before nightfall.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think that came together nicely. That last one, I finally can't get up. So, of course, if you use any of these ideas, you just simply throw me in the acknowledgments and we're good.
Right.
Okay.
I
want to work on the geriatric one.
Kate and Danny, it has been a sincere pleasure. And I've had lots of laughs chatting with both of you. Thank you for taking time to join me here on Reader Seeks Romance.
Thank you for having us. This is great. Super fun. Yeah. The ending was the best.